Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman, and again, congratulate you on really bringing forth this very timely hearing. Now, I'm very concerned, and I want you all to understand the power that you have. I want you to understand and to understand very thoughtfully that we have got to save these African American owned banks. Without that, in order to do that, we got to look at this the same way that Franklin Delano Roosevelt looked at the nation when we went into the Depression, because these communities are in a depression. Now, we have got to use you all as the point of the spear in saving these African American banks. Very vital, because you have the power. You are the regulators of our banking system. So, number one, why not go forth? If we know, for example, how many banks are failing, as you said, 27, that's a terrible indictment on you all. You all should have been out here hollering a long time ago about what is happening in the African American community. These folks who are registered as unbanked and underbanked, you all gave us the numbers. 8.9 million unbanked households in this country, which means if you know how many they are, you know who they are, you know where they are. And an alarm bell should have been sent. Well, this committee is ringing the alarm bell now, but you're the regulators. So why not entertain, and let's be bold. You all have the big banks, we talked about that. You bring the big banks in with the smaller banks, and then if one can't make the meeting, the other. No. We need to establish joint ventures and give these very large banks who say they're concerned about helping the capitalization of our African American banks. Okay, let's do some joint ventures here. Secondly, if we can get, we here are doing everything we can to address the reasons why, but we've got to get some incentives going within the banking industry right now. For example, why is it, let me ask you this, just from a standpoint we know that these banks in the African American community have a big problem in establishing their capital structure. Now, could you all tell us what unique hurdles do we have in raising capital for the African American banks? What are they? Can we start with you, Mr. Lindo?
Thank you. The biggest impediment is, in fact, what they would turn around and, invest that in. The communities that you're talking about, communities such as the African American community, we're under, as you know, economic pressure in those environments where the money might come in, but it may not stay for a long period of time. We had Black Lives Matter for a matter of minutes, effectively. Money came in through the deposit network, but it went right back out the door.
Why?
Because in terms of the stickiness of those types of deposits and investments, if you will, the Black Lives Matter just being one example, the money came in really quickly, but those are low deposit accounts. So if a bank gets those, it has a higher cost to maintain that type of account. Those aren't large dollar accounts that we can actually now go and reinvest into loans in the community. So the hot type of money, or this money that doesn't stick in the organization, is one thing. The other thing you talked about was capital, okay? And that's fundamentally the problem facing African-American banks, whether it comes from large banks, as Chairwoman Waters was saying, or whether it comes through other partnership-type interests. That's where we have to focus on.
Could we not come up with a way?
Gentleman's time has expired.